What's up, everybody? Welcome in to the Nerdy Soccer Show. We have a special guest tonight, and that is the one and only Michael. Michael, how are you?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on, dude. It's funny how this old game works, dude. You and I met. Is it 2 years now?
I would say so. I would say it's probably 2 years. And you asked me to be on your podcast.
Yep, 2 years ago, and then I think we saw a game earlier this year in DC, and now we're still hanging out chatting, dude. This is what it's about, brother. This is what it's about. Love what you're doing, dude.
Well, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I wanted this is exactly what I wanted to do with this channel anyway, is to have people on. So hopefully this is just the beginning. You're the first person that I've ever had on the podcast. I have been on multiple others, especially recently. So, big shout out to all of them that have had me on their, podcast. So it's really cool. So hopefully I'll get, I have you. Hopefully I can get some of the other subscribers on here. That's what I'm excited for. I want like the fans, it doesn't have to be other content creators that I have on the show, because I want to, hear what they have to say to other fans and subscribers about MLS and really about soccer in general.
Yeah, you're building a little community over there on these live streams and everything. It's cool to see like the regulars come in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like every single week. It's sick, dude. So we gotta get more of them on there. But yeah, if you don't, I know you'll plug it in. But if you haven't been around for these live streams, it's a good time, man. MLS season's kicking off soon, so I'll see all of you people there.
And this off season has been crazy, and we'll get into that. We're going to here soon. But Angus, Rain, thank you for stopping in. And speaking of someone that's been here since the beginning, Angus, he's been here since the beginning.
That's a good dude.
Yeah,
that's
love
a good
Angus.
Dude.
Thank you for already being in here. But to kick it off, Michael, what is I took this from Bob, which is the Designated Pundits host. And I've been on his podcast, but he's been asking people. He's been doing a great job with. He's doing like an overview of every team, all 30 teams, and he's having people that are specific to those teams come on. And he asked them what was their favorite moment in MLS 2024 season. So I'm going to ask you that. What was your favorite moment during the season last season?
I got two for you, right? One of them probably super dear to your heart, okay? But I got two moments for you that stick out immediately. Probably a bit of recency bias, but I think one of the cool things about the game is that, like, as people start getting into it, and I know we're going to talk deep about how, like, it's growing and everything, but there are some games where you're sitting there as a fan and you are proper kicking that ball, you're playing defense with the team. It's to get into the sport the way that some of us do is electric. My favorite memory and moment from the season, when Atlanta knocked out Miami,
absolutely,
on your live stream, was a peak moment for me, because the pop in the Willis household when that final whistle blew was deafening, dude. What a defensive masterclass from that team. That was so much fun to watch, and I know that you'll probably talk about it in a little bit, but that was definitely my favorite on-field moment. And then, like, a personal, like, off-field moment, I would say, is like when I got into the game after the 2010 World Cup,
mm-hmm.
and that it was when a bunch of my buddies had just gone off like freshman year to college. So it was like me hanging out with them playing FIFA. And that year, 2011, 2012, that was like the big Dortmund year.
Mm-hmm.
So like Marco Reus was like one of my favorite players. So to see him come over, I know it was tail end, and we didn't get to see an awful lot of him throughout the entire season. It's tail end of the season coming in right after the Champions League final that you and I got to watch together.
Yes. Sitting in a bar at DC.
Yeah, that's right. Sitting in a random DC bar right before the DC United game. I think that was cool for me, because I don't think Royce is well past it, and I think it's cool to just kind of solidify. I know we got a bunch of others that came in, but like I feel as though we're getting away from the retirement league moniker that like we've had for a couple years. I think we're, especially in the past 3-4 years that I've been watching, like we're getting a lot of really good players. I think Royce is that's a good vet to get. So it was cool for me to see like this, and I really want to go see him local sometime this season, because that's, like I said, one of my favorites growing up. So that was cool for me. But on field, Atlanta United for you, I know that was.
Yeah, it definitely was. I said that in one of his I co-hosted one of the videos for them, which was St. Louis, and yeah, that was my moment. And at first, after I answered, I'm thinking in my head, oh my goodness, was he asking me about St. Louis, like a moment for St. Louis? Because that's the pod. And
Yeah,
I asked him after the thing, and he goes, oh no, just a moment.
just
And I'm
in
like,
general.
okay. I was like, phew, we're doing a St. Louis podcast, and I'm talking about Atlanta
Yeah, talking
United
about
over
Atlanta.
here.
Yeah. No, that was elite, dude. That watching that game was like that's what all this Messi mania that's happened the past year and a half. Like, what a good moment to kind of a good moment for the league too. Like, I know the league really wants to push that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Messi later on for sure, but like, I know the league wants to push that. But what a good moment! What a good story for the league to be like, yeah, we have a team in Atlanta that just knocked out three of the best players that we've probably seen in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. That
Yeah.
was awesome. That was a phenomenal game.
So Michael, do you have a favorite MLS team? Well, who's your favorite team altogether in general, in football or soccer, whichever you want to call it? But also tell us if you have an MLS favorite.
I'll tell you what, dude. Football, footy, soccer, whatever you want to call it, we do what we want over here in the
Yeah.
States, and that's what I love about it. Like you say what you want, like respect it when you go over there, I guess. But nobody should be discriminating against the way that, excuse me, the way that you call the game or whatever. But when I was, I think it's cool to start listening to people as the game grows and see what everybody likes and how they got into it, how they got into the game. I got into it in 2010 from a buddy of mine. Shout out Zach Poston. I know I'll force this over to him before he's even watch, but he told me to like Chelsea out of nowhere. And then I moved in with my grandmother in like 2011, sorry. So in 2011, 2012, that was like my first year with my grandmother at that time. And her favorite place was West London. Like, so just by coincidence, I talked to a Fulham guy at one point named Ross Goldman, and he runs a Fulham podcast. And when I was talking to him about it, I said, Ross, my grandmother told me that this was her favorite spot, and the favorite spot was literally centered around Fulham. And when I looked it up, I hated everything about that club. I hated white, black, and salmon. I just couldn't stand it. So I went full on Chelsea, and for the past how many years now, that's been my team, and that's who I've grown up supporting. And like I said, 10, 13 years ago now, living with my grandmother watching it. So like for me, those are the memories that I have of getting up on a Saturday, Sunday, and watching the game. And then hilariously transitioned into like, yeah, why don't we have this here? And then you find out, oh, we do in the MLS, oh, we do in the USL. And the first MLS game I ever watched, I think we've talked about this before, but the first game I've ever watched was I think it was 2013 or 14. It was the championship game, and it was Real Salt Lake versus Sporting Kansas City. And I fell in love with Graham Zusi and Seth Sinovic.
Yes, Graham Zusi.
Right? Those were my boys back in the day. So, like, they won. So, bandwagoning. I fell in love with Sporting Kansas City. It was hard to kind of watch the games on ESPN at that time for me. I didn't have, like, ESPN Plus or anything like that at that time. And then as the league transitioned to, like, away from Fox Sports and away from ESPN, they kind of went full Apple. I jumped on the Trader. I jumped on the St. Louis bandwagon because they were a new team. I was jumping into it, and I wouldn't say that I'm full on St. Louis in the MLS, but like I think I have a couple different teams. I cheer for the story. I think more often, especially when like you start diving into it. Obviously, if you don't know, wearing a Richmond Kickers jersey. I'm based out of Richmond, Virginia, born and raised here, and I love everything about Richmond. Got to get you down.
Yes. I got to come down and see a game.
Got to get you down to City Stadium for one of these games. But that was how I kind of started when I was branching into the MLS. I realized I actually have a team local, and I love big on English soccer. So like when I look over there, like I'm big. I think it's cool that they are like so deep into like the local game. So I wouldn't say I have a MLS team per se. I support Chelsea and I support Richmond. And I enjoy the story of the MLS. And I think that's, like I said earlier, with Marco Royce coming, I think it's one of the cool things is like there are constant stories throughout every single game that comes up now. I think that's a cool thing. I think it's entertaining as well. And I know we'll get into the production and we're going to talk about how that landscape's kind of changing, but I don't think I've got like a full-on locked-on team. We'll say went to DC with you
Dude, that was a
this
great.
past June, and that was Eli. I'm pretty sure Dion's got a vlog of that up on his. You need to go check that out.
Yeah.
Everyone here needs to go check that out because that was such a good time, dude. So what about you, dude? I know that you're Atlanta and Nashville-ish.
Well,
Correct?
Nashville. That's the thing. I'm definitely Atlanta for MLS.
Yeah.
Like we all know that. But it's one of those things. With doing this channel and making a connection with the subscribers and stuff. Like I'm cheering for their teams too, unless they're playing for Atlanta. But like I like keeping up. I want to see St. Louis do good because of Angus. Connor, thank you for stopping in. Connor, Gracie also they stopped in here and said what's up. Like Connor likes Columbus. I like keeping up with Columbus. Gracie likes Charlotte. I'm super pumped for them with Zaha down there in Charlotte. That's awesome. So like
That's gonna be sweet.
I like the community that we're building, so it's making me like the league as a whole, because teams that I didn't like at all, like I'm starting to come around to, like the Galaxy, like what the story
Oh,
with Ricky Pooge this year, and like that's a great story in
yep.
my opinion. But yeah, definitely Atlanta. But see, like how you were saying for MLS, that's how I am with Premier League and other leagues usually. It's just I'm more of a player guy when
Yep.
it comes to European soccer. Like I watch AC Milan, but that's because Pulisic and Musa both play there. More Pulisic than Musa because Pulisic's my favorite player. But like I like different players and like keeping up with the different players. So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, Atlanta. I know we're gonna talk about it later. Atlanta, some big stories. I know we'll get onto that a little bit later, but yeah, dude, it's interesting though, right? Like it's hard to like latch on to potentially an area that you've never been to
Mm-hmm.
when you don't have like a local team or anything like that. So like it's easier for us to kind of latch on to those players and things like that. But that's one of the cool things is like I think this, we're going to talk about this in depth, but like the sport's growing for sure, and like I think we're going to start seeing teams in West Virginia. You know what I mean?
I don't
Start
know about
building
that,
up.
but I would love it. I would love it.
We're coming. We're getting there, dude. Might be a couple years out, but we're getting there, bro.
But just like how you said about St. Louis, like I'm from West Virginia, like you said, and I like Atlanta, but it was because I wanted to take a deep dive into MLS, and two teams were coming into the league at that time, Atlanta and Minnesota, and I just thought, there's more of a chance of me getting to Atlanta than Minnesota. Also, it's kind of cold up there in Minnesota in the winter, so
Yeah,
I had
you
to
were
go
sending
with.
me those. You were sending me pictures of you sitting in that Columbus stadium, all freezing
Oh
cold,
my!
dude.
It was.
I don't think Dion's
It
a big
was.
fan of the cold.
I. I would never sit. I would never sit in a seat
Yeah,
again when I go to an MLS game. It will always be. It will always be the supporter section.
yeah.
But it was so cold. I had a front wheel drive little car that I was using. It was my dad's. I drove to my cousin's in Parkersburg. Then I drove up to the game in the snow, and it was freezing. It was awful in that part, but like really nice stadium. It's in downtown Columbus.
Yeah.
Like it was awesome. It was a great crowd in the sense of how cold it was. Like I understand people aren't going to come because it's cold,
Yeah.
but it was really cool because they also did their like ceremony because they won MLS Cup the year before, so it was fun.
Was it snowing that game for you?
No, so it snowed. It snowed overnight and into the morning, but by the time it snowed all the way up through West Virginia into Ohio. But as soon as I like turned to head towards Columbus in Ohio, it stopped. And it was the sun was shining. It was a beautiful day in that sense, but it was just the wind,
freezing,
the wind,
frigid,
was wicked.
Yeah,
So
that's funny. But yeah, man, that's how I got like I said, got into it when I was 17, 18 at that time, and then got deep into Chelsea, and then that kind of that love of the game just kind of bled into Richmond having their team, and I thought, why not? Let's support the team, and all the way in the USL League One, here we are, baby. Had a new rebrand. I know you saw that earlier. We'll see. 6.5 out of 10, I think, but it'll grow on me. It'll grow on me.
on what
The Kickers rebrand.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. So let's kind of let's talk about that. So MLS announced that so many teams are going into Leagues Cup, so many into the U.S. Open Cup, so many into, well, CONCACAF, you have to qualify for that anyway. What's your thoughts on that?
There's a lot here, ain't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot here, ain't it, dude? It's crazy. It's interesting the way this is going, right? Because I don't think that we as the American audience need to copy every single thing that happens in Europe and everything that happens overseas. But it is a weird thing. Did they say that, like, I think I read somewhere that they were testing out this kind of stuff until 2026, 2027. And then they were kind of is that correct? They were going to figure out a new landscape or something like that.
They're trying to switch us to they want to have the same season as Europe, Europe and stuff, so that everything lands on the same, all the different stuff. It just, I don't know how it's going to work. I know that there's some people that are very hyped for it. Some people aren't. I'm very in between. Like, it sounds good, but then there's things like, we know what the weather is like in a lot of teams in MLS during November, December, January, like, Columbus, Cincinnati, St. Louis, Minnesota, New England. It's way too cold for all that. Like, you can't do that. So I don't know how it's going to work.
You might find that, like, families aren't going to be able to go or something like that. But, like, to go back to all these leagues and this split up, I think, thinking at that 2026, 2027, whenever they're thinking about doing this refresh, like, at that point, they need to pick something and stay with that. Because I think, like everybody, like, we don't want half in, half out kind of thing. If you want to go with the open, I know this whole thing's centered around Messi, the Open Cup, and the Leagues Cup. Like, that's all this is right here, is to find a way to generate. I know everybody feels like it. Some people feel like that might not be it, but to me, this is just screaming, we know when Messi's going to leave. Let's generate as much as we can. Get him to as many eyes as possible, because the USA is going to watch already. Let's get him in Mexico and down into South America. But I think it'll be interesting to see what happens to the Leagues Cup after Messi leaves and after this whole rebrand thing. Like, is that going to go away? Because, I mean, we all saw the attendance last year was horrible, like, throughout, especially at the end there, like, horrible.
For the Leagues Cup, it wasn't the greatest. And, like, they changed it up. Hopefully everyone can see this and still hear us both. But they changed the format, and I have that up. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah,
so there's one phase, like phase one, and then a knockout round. So phase one will feature 3 consecutive match dates per club to play back to back. And then all 54 phase one matches will be played between MLS and Liga MX clubs. Then it breaks down to where, like, the top Liga MX club is on one side, and MLS number 1 is on the other side. And then it's really eight teams make it into the knockout stages. So I don't know. And, like, only certain teams are in it. And they put the top, and that's what I didn't like about it, is they put the top 8 teams, or 8 or 9 teams, into the Leagues Cup. So Atlanta's in the Leagues Cup, not the U.S. Open Cup. And then, like, the biggest thing that's sticking with me is I can't remember which LA team now. I'm drawing a blank. Won the U.S. Open Cup, and they're not
LAFC.
Yes, LAFC. And they're not even in. They're not there to defend their title. Like that.
Yep.
That's stupid.
It's weird.
That's stupid.
It's weird, right? Like, I don't think, I genuinely, I know that we want to sit and we want the story and we want to talk about, like, the MLS is trying to kill the Open Cup. I don't think that's I think they're trying to generate as much revenue. Mm-hmm. And I get it from, like, because we have to remember this, unfortunately, like, that MLS is such a business now, and, like, the game is such a business. And I think they just want to keep Messi, and they want to keep those teams out of the lower league stadiums, because they're not MLS quality, and that's what the league is trying to. Obviously, look at all these stadiums that they're building. Like, all these stadiums are coming in, state of the art. Everything's looking nice. People come here all the time now, and you see vlogs everywhere of how nice our stadiums are compared to everywhere else. So I don't feel like it's a direct shot at the Open Cup, but I do think they're prioritizing their own thing. Like, obviously, I think we need to keep the Champions League in there. I think we need to keep CONCACAF in there, because that's how that's how we get to this side of our version of like the Champions League of Europe and all that. Like I think that's we keep that. I think that's a cool thing to have.
Mhm.
It'd be cool to find a way to incorporate USL teams, but I don't think that's going to happen for a very long time, or maybe ever.
But there is a way for USL teams to make it to CONCACAF.
Is there now?
They have to win the U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You know,
yeah, exactly.
but
It's tough.
yeah, it is tough. I mean, we've seen a couple of them make it to the semifinals, finals, and stuff,
Yeah.
but it is tough. And here there was one thing. Gracie's saying if MLS ditches Open Cup for Leagues Cup after Messi, she's never watching again. I think that it potentially could be the opposite when Messi goes. Like they're not going to go away from their own stuff. As we're gonna
No.
touch on. There's been more information given about the NCAA and them becoming like a semi-professional. We'll talk more about that, and it just shows like there's MLS is saying like they don't want it to happen because it's a detriment to their development league. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, you could. I watched a video from Zealander. I don't know. Have you ever seen his stuff?
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
YouTube. He talked about it, and he had some good points, and I'll touch on those when we get there. But I want to see the U.S. Open Cup more than I want to see Leagues Cup, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that they have 16 teams in there this year because they only had 8 last year. There's 16 teams: Austin, Charlotte, Chicago Fire, DC United, Dallas. I guess I could just show the screen there. Dallas, Houston, Minnesota, Nashville, the Revs, NYCFC, the Red Bulls, Orlando, Union, Timbers, San Jose Earthquakes, which they're going to have a great season this year, and
Oh yeah.
and St. Louis City. So that's I don't know who I'm going to. Well, I'm going to root for the Riverhounds.
Martinez.
The Riverhounds are in the U.S. Open Cup, and then Appalachian FC is also in there, and I own a share of them, so I'm going to be cheering for them.
Attaboy.
So that's what I like. That's what I like the most about Leagues Cup. I mean, U.S. Open Cup is those lower league teams have a chance to play, and win some money that they don't usually win, but then also like play against these top, these professional top tier teams. Is what I was trying to get at.
Brother, how electric would it be if like, you're AV Alta, the new team in the USL League One. Imagine how like you this is your inaugural season in the Open Cup. You draw Nashville, like whether they come to you or you go play in that stadium, like
the
buzz around that. Like nobody wants to see the Open Cup die. Like that's our competition. Like, and it is weird. And it's very ironic to see the MLS turn away from the Lamar Hunt Open Cup and a guy that paved a lot of what the MLS is now, to turn away from that cup and that competition. It's very ironic to see. I don't think they die away from it entirely. But like I said, I hope that when the decision's made, whatever that decision is, go. Like I don't want a different. We can't keep chopping and changing and moving the goalposts for fans, because people are going to forget. People are going to not understand what's going on. We just have to set it in. And if they don't want to be in it, don't be in it. Don't be in it. USL teams will be just fine. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But at the same time, I do think the USL has a backup plan, which is sad. But I get it. I think that's why they created their own League Cup. It's the Jägermeister Cup. Yeah. Last year it was just the USL League One teams. This year it'll be both the Championship and League One teams. So I think they have something in place just in case the Open Cup dies. But if not, they have their own competition along with the Open Cup. And it just, I know a lot of people, especially over in England, they put like a false sense on the Carabao Cup and the League Cup. But at the end of the day, it is another trophy that these teams can win, and it means something. In those games, the trophy, you might not think the trophy means something until you win it, and when you see your team win it, it's a buzz.
It's
so
awesome,
I think it is, man. It is. It's so awesome. So I don't see the Open Cup going anywhere. I don't see USL really being hurt by this. I don't see MLS being hurt by not being in the Open Cup at all, other than people hating the fact that, that they're not a part of our competition. But I think to me, it's more interesting of like what's going to happen to the Leagues Cup come 2026, 2027 when they change it around. When Messi leaves,
What's that going to
Is
be?
this going to be a priority? I don't think it is. It'd be interesting, but I also, to your point, I don't think they're going to leave their own competition. They're
Yeah,
not just going to axe it after 3-4 years.
yeah, exactly. And also like the thing that they need to. So supposedly it's rumored again this year for Leagues Cup. It is all games are here in the U.S. and I know that Liga MX, clubs are not. They don't like that, and I don't like
Yeah,
that as a fan
yeah,
because
yeah.
that in general a away game even in the United States with MLS teams, that is still there's a home field advantage in the US, like because of the
Yeah.
travel, and like them guys they have there's no crowd behind them. And it's just, to me, it's not fair to League MX teams that they don't get a home game um, during that.
Agreed.
So what they really need to do is, like, if they're going to do it here this year with the new format, they need to do it in Mexico the next year. MLS is never going to let that happen because they want their money. Like
Yeah.
they're fully
Yeah.
money driven. But also Connor's saying US needs to do a better job of promoting their tournaments and do what England does with the FA Cup. Take 1 week in a month, pause all league play, from MLS to amateurs, and play those games. And I think that's a good take. And I also think that US soccer does need to do a better job promoting the US Open Cup. I know that the teams do. I'm Appalachian FC, I follow them on Instagram and stuff. Like, they're posting a whole bunch about them making it this year into it. And some other teams, but like MLS isn't going
No,
to push it because it's
no.
Leagues Cup is their ultimate goal.
That's their baby. That's what they want. And I agree with them. We should do a better job of promoting these cup competitions. But I think, like I was saying earlier, I think it's hard, and I think we're hurting ourselves by changing who's in it, who's out of it every single year, not based on competition, but based on someone else deciding that for you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So like, I just think it doesn't. This doesn't help anybody. This doesn't help anybody grow the game at all. So like, that's what I'm saying. And I think we're stuck with this for the next 2-3 years because I still think they're figuring it out on the fly.
Yeah.
But once 2026, 2027 rolls around, MLS needs to pick what they're doing, and they just need to roll with that and make that be their thing. And everyone else will follow suit. I don't think the Open Cup goes anywhere. But to Connor's point, we absolutely need to be hyping these competitions up and making this more of a big deal so people start coming out to these. They're a good time, man. I lived in time. The kickers got bounced. We went to penalties against Loudoun last year, and I was genuinely bummed leaving the game. Genuinely bummed leaving the game.
And that's the thing. That's what I was going to bring up. I think it was a couple years ago. I went the Riverhounds hosted Columbus.
Yeah.
And I walked right by Farsi and Aiden Morse. They, after the game, like, I stayed, because the buzz, because Riverhounds won. We won 1-0.
I remember you texting me.
It was electric, man. And like, because even though like the Riverhounds are my USL team because they are the closest to me, like I was genuinely excited. Like, they're moving on. Like, they beat an MLS team. Yes, Cucho wasn't there, and at that point in time, Zelleroyan was still on the team, I believe. And so like those guys weren't there, but still, like, they had Aiden Morse, even though he was younger and still developing. But like, it was such a buzz. Like, it was so exciting. And like, I wasn't in the supporter section, but even not in the supporter section, like, we were all on our feet. Yeah. It was so like, those are the games you live for with something like the US Open Cup. And I just hope it doesn't die, because I like seeing that. But I didn't know about, you said that USL, like, I knew that they were doing the Jägermeister Cup.
Yeah, Jägermeister Cup, yeah.
But I didn't know that it was also League One.
Last year it was just the League One team, so it was 12 League One teams, and this year they're incorporating the championship as well. So this is their own competition that they're going to have separate to the Open Cup, which I think is cool. And again, man, that just goes to the point of, like, I think this, and you see the USL, we lost a couple teams, but we had a couple others come into the league. This is 4 teams inaugural seasons, which is awesome to see, and it shows that the league is growing, and the reason why some of these teams fold is not so much because of attendance, but because they're just not very good teams. You know what I mean? So like, I think the sport is definitely growing, and I think it just goes to show, like, if you're from Pittsburgh and you don't have an MLS team close to you and you don't want to drive to Philadelphia, like you got the Riverhounds right there. Do you know what I mean? If you, we got Texacoma FC just started up. I think that's Texas and Oklahoma border or something like that. I'll be corrected in the comments for sure, but like it's in that area. But I think that's a cool. Those are the teams you find a unique. Even with the MLS, you find a unique, passionate fan base that's outside of your New York, your Miami, your LA. You know what I'm saying? I think these are cool things to see, and that's what I'm saying. Nobody wants the Open Cup to die. Nobody wants that. But we'll see. 2027, I think that's when we'll have clarity from the MLS on what they're going to do here.
And I'm excited. I am excited for the growth of soccer in the U.S. and let's move into that. So the NCAA, supposedly some teams are getting together, and I don't know all of it, but they have come together and they're working with U.S. soccer to have them be like a semi-pro, and like there's so many good things that could come from this, because right now, like, the rules are completely different in NCAA, because I go and watch WVU.
Yeah.
40 minutes away from me. That's where I just graduated college from. So,
congrats.
Thanks.
Congrats,
brother. That was in December. Glad it's over. But it was worth it, though. I will say it was worth it. But like, if that would, if they would get this like semi-pro, like I think it would be cool. But there's so many factors at play, and like to have, a full season. So that's like what it's supposed to be, is like it would be a regular season, like MLS and stuff. And hopefully they would change the rules of the game, because at one point in time, I think it was like 2 or 3 seasons ago, you could make as many subs as you want. It was like high school. You could just continually rotate. Now they've changed it to where, you can only have someone can be subbed out in the first half. They can't come back in the first half, but they can come back in the second half. So it's still just weird rules. Like, make it like the professional if you're going to move that way. And then also like the clock. Do it like the regular. Like, they stop the clock and they end it. But I think that if they make the right approach with this, it would be great. But I've also already seen MLS is saying, well, no, they're trying to tell the U.S. Soccer Federation, don't do it because it's going to hurt our development. But they really did. And then also, like, one thing that people are talking about is like they really talked about generating revenue. And like, yes, you do have to make money, but like that was like their main thing. And here's some slides that Chris Kessel, I actually think he's from West Virginia. He's from the southern part of the state in Charleston. And he is a huge advocate for youth sports. And like, he's a big MLS guy too. And he shared these today. So like, putting the student athletes first, like there's some of that. But like, they put together like a model for, and this is just early stages, so we have no idea what this is going to look like in the future, because they're trying to shoot for that time period that you were talking about for MLS, right after the World Cup, because that's when the World Cup wants to
come over to the States, baby.
Like, they want to switch it over, so like they want this to switch too. I think that it would give players more opportunity, but in a sense, I spoke about Zealander, and he made some good points. Like, he talked about Virginia, because I think he went to college there. And, teams like Virginia, or, all these surrounding colleges in that area, like DC United could be a feeder for them. Like, it could almost be like, these are like almost academies. Yes, these are college age kids, so they are older, but like they could have an opportunity, and like they could feed into DC United and all that. And then like just everywhere, like these schools could go up into like making more of an academy type approach, because that's something like we all hear people talk about it. That is that's one thing we talk about, is like there's no real academy here in the US, and it's pay to play. And like it's crazy. One of my coworkers, her son plays, and he got invited by the Riverhounds to try out for their team, for their youth team. It's like, just for him to play on the team, it's like $3,000.
Yeah,
plus
it's
any travel they have to pay for their travel, like pay for their travel and stuff on it. It's like that is ridiculous. Like it should have. Now I understand because it is expensive. It's very expensive. The US is very spread out, but like revenue could be generated in other ways, and maybe this is what they're trying to say is like with NCAA. I don't know. I don't know all of it, you know.
I think what it is, it's you just said it is like it's so revenue based, and I know people panic about that, and it sucks that we have to talk about that side of it because the game is so much more. It's a ball and a net. You know what I mean? Like that should really be what we're talking about. But it's what I think is going on here. Like I said earlier, is like we don't have to copy every
Everything.
single thing that England does or that Europe does. But at the same time, we have to think like their youth academies that they have for each one of these. Are we going to be able to do that? And if so, are we going to be able? Who's funding that travel?
Mm-hmm.
Because in England, a 6-hour drive covers the north and south of that entire country. A
Exactly.
6-hour drive, I don't even think gets me to your house in West Virginia. Do you know what I'm saying?
Close. Mm-hmm.
Close. We're close enough. But like, I haven't even hit 3 states, maybe. Do you know what I'm saying? I'll hit Virginia, West Virginia. I mean, Virginia, Maryland, and right into West Virginia. So, but like, and that'll be it. So out of the whole country we have, it's going to be hard to travel these kids around. So it's interesting. The execution is going to be interesting, right? Of how they kind of figure this out. And I think it goes into the whole USA men's team or USA soccer versus MLS. And I think, again, we see this over in Europe as well with UEFA and the actual club teams, or UEFA and the international teams. Like I think we see this throughout. I don't know if that's ever going to go away, but it's interesting, like how they could kind of do this, because if we're all being honest, like nobody's going to the academy for DC United. No one's going. There's not only the families are only going to care about that.
Yeah.
And at a college where we see it all the time. People in Virginia rooting for Texas. They've never stepped foot in Texas. You know what I'm saying? Like we'll have people that love the game that are just going to cheer for their college team and support that with the money and revenue, and that's how we can kind of grow. I think it just goes into kind of what we're talking about of like whatever it takes to grow the game in a positive way. Like let's do it. It's an interesting thing. Execution is going to be interesting. Yeah. I know you got some slides here of like how this can kind of work. You know what I mean?
And this was shared. You know, Chris, like I said, someone shared these with him, and it was NCAA's soccer partnership and professionalization model with U.S. soccer. But, you know, back to, you know, the travel, like you were saying, you know, 6 hours could get you from me to you or whatever. What would be nice with this, because there's so many colleges, you know, you can really play teams that are kind of local instead of having things like football. Like, why is West Virginia in the Big 12 when like the closest, you know, I know it's changed a little bit, but like the closest team is, you know, Iowa or something like that. And like you have to fly. Instead, have these teams set up to where like to save money on travel, have them close, and then like have a tournament or like I would love to see like a big NCAA tournament for soccer. Yes, they do have one. Oh yeah. I think it's just 16 teams.
I know what you mean.
Something like that.
We know what you mean.
But like, you know, that's the American way. You know, playoffs are like an American thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like them. No. We all get excited for them. But I think that if enough teams join, and then also it's one of those things like we talk about pro rel all the time. Okay? We talk about it all the time. This is like a perfect scenario. I was trying to think of outside the box here whenever I heard this and watched Zealander. Like Zealander's Take, if you want to go see that, it was on his channel, Zealanderism, or Zealandism. It's on that channel of his. It's a really good watch. He pretty much tells MLS FU at one point. It was great. It was fantastic because they that's what I understand, their business, but at the same time, like we want to produce, like U.S. soccer needs to step up and tell them, look, we need to produce to give our country a chance against these other countries in soccer. Like the women's side is doing it. Why can't the men's side? And
I think you see it though, like the women's side, like the rest of the world is catching up to us.
They
I
are.
think in the next couple of years, like it's going to be tough for our women's team. I think we're still going to be, obviously, we're going to be in the mix. I think
Yeah.
we're so far ahead, but like everyone else is catching up. And then on the men's side, to your point, like we all just want to find the best way to. The MLS is in a way, they're prioritizing business over support,
Mm-hmm.
and like we just want to see the game grow, and like we want to see the men's team be successful. And like 2026, I know you see all the USA talking heads like Alexi Lawless and all of them go crazy about how important this is, and I agree. I think it is important. I think it'll be interesting. We'll talk about it at the end, like kind of where we're able. And we should like keep this going towards 2026 and see your thoughts on the team. But I think we're missing so many pieces in that team because we just don't develop anybody here. I'm tired of sending dudes out to Germany. It's not working.
That's one thing I was going to touch on is like, yes, we love seeing our guys go over to Europe and stuff, but I want to see. I hope at some point in time in my lifetime that we see that change where the American players, our league is good enough and our guys play strong enough that like MLS is where they want to stay, where we want to compete and have the, some of the best players in the world, and MLS be up there with that. But I think MLS has to change some things. I don't know that answer. I don't know if anybody knows what that answer is.
I don't think so.
But I think that they need to not be so greedy. Yeah. I think that greed plays a lot in that.
As long as Messi's here, I think we're going to see that greed take place because I think they know they'll have the eyeballs on it. And it sucks, man, because we should be we shouldn't be so lucky. I'm not saying like that, but we should be like hype that the greatest. I know everyone wants to argue. For me, the greatest player of all time is playing in our country. He chose to play here. I know he's probably making a good fortune of doing this, but like this should be a celebrated thing, and we're kind of diminishing it because you look at any other great player and where they end their career, they play against teams you would never expect them to play. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about the game. So to wrap a bow on this NCAA thing, like it's an interesting thing because I think college sports is definitely in a transition as well as a whole. So to see where soccer can take this and potentially grow, again, we don't have to be so academy based. And maybe you might have not just the players, but coaches develop inside of the college game to where we can start producing better and better guys. Because like I said, I don't have a problem with guys leaving the US. I have a problem with our youngest players leaving the US and we've got enough resources to start building this team here and then see where it takes us. But it's a tough, like I said, I don't have the answer. I don't think anybody does. I think everyone's trying to figure it out, but someone's got to get those answers soon, Dion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was going on it when we were starting about Pro Rel. Connor, I don't know what happened with USL Pro Rel vote. I think that it was turned down for right now. I'm not sure, but this would be for Pro Rel. The NCAA would almost be like a perfect, I guess, like guinea pig on that. Have many, be like, okay, so many of these D1 teams, or just make the D1 team like this is the top tier, the Division 2, and then have it where so many teams, drop down or come up to D1. I don't know if that could ever work. I don't know how that would work, but like that, I think that would be a good opportunity to introduce Pro Rel into the American game. I don't know.
For sure. It'd be fun to watch because, again, I think one of the reasons that we all the same as we know a quarterback is going to be good or potentially be good is because we know that team is good. No one knows the academy team for Nashville or Atlanta or anything like that. These colleges have a name attached to it. Mm-hmm. So if they're doing well, we'll maybe tune in, watch those kids play, and maybe see some of that potential, and then hope our team in the MLS or the USL drafts them or signs them or wherever they can go and things like that. I think that's, again, it's definitely got legs for sure. On the Pro Rel thing for USL, I do think that we'll see this at some point. I think the USL, especially the League One, I think they would need to have like 2 or 3 years without a transition of a team, like no team folding, or, only bringing in new teams. I think if we have some stability for a couple years, I think they'll start thinking about, all right, let's merge these two bad boys and see what we got from here. But stadiums play a factor in that, I think, so much. And that's the problem, Dion, is like we all just want to see the game. Like we want to see and we're doing so much talking outside of the game than it's actually, physically watching that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is in like speaking to, WVU player just got signed with the Riverhounds. The
Yeah.
Riverhounds just signed one, but we'll move on from this. But now where was I going with it?
It's an interesting take. It's interesting to see what's going to happen there for sure.
And like you were saying, there is a fan base for college because you're going to have students come out that like the game. I went and watched the Sun Belt Championship. It was here. It was in Morgantown. WVU versus Marshall, in-state rivalry, sold out crowd. Oh, I think it was like 3,200 people. Like that. That's an awesome. That's an awesome crowd. It was great. It was electric. I do, however, though, wish that college soccer fans during games were a little bit more rowdy, like going to a professional game. In the college level, there's a lot of setting, and you are just spectating. And it's like, why are we not singing? Why do we not have any chants? Like,
that's a good point.
You know,
that's it, because you got to build that. You know what I mean? So we gotta find a way to build that supporter section of the team. College kids will figure it out. You see Duke, North Carolina basketball.
Well, yeah, you see basketball all the time.
They'll figure it out. But I definitely think you getting people into that could definitely be a way to do and build and grow and make these games matter and make some of these kids kind of develop a little bit. And again, to develop with the coaches as well, because that fan base is already there. Instead of a no fan other than family member team of an academy. So it's interesting, man. And again, we all know we knew this was going to happen. We knew changes were going to come with the World Cup coming in. Yeah. They were going to try to do something they always do to maximize off the World Cup. And the fact that it's here in the States, we got to get to a game. By the way.
We're going. Absolutely.
Have to.
Yeah.
Have to. The fact it's here in the States, like they're gonna maximize all they can. So it's gonna be interesting, man. I do think it can work, but I get it's greedy MLS. They want everything for them, and they don't really want to spread the love here. Even though we got enough places to play the game at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like, no matter what happens, I'm excited that the game is growing here, and I hope that it continues to grow because, me growing up, it wasn't even. Like, I really didn't, like, I knew soccer. I knew how the game was played to an extent. But, like, from where it was, just 20 years ago to where it's at now, like, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what the future holds for, U.S. soccer. But let's move on to the MLS, the studio is now at the WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. What's your thoughts?
Right. So like this is kind of, I think this is out of all the, I know we've been a little bit like critical of some of the things going on here. I genuinely love this. I genuinely think this is a good, I hope this is a good thing. I didn't dislike anything that was taking place before. Right, like I thought the studio looked nice. I thought the in studio personalities were okay. Like I thought everything was good. I think that it's what we want. I think the big focus here is like they're gonna separate the games a little bit. They're introducing Soccer Sunday with this whole thing. They're gonna have dedicated games instead of having 12 games on at one time. 10 games on at one time. Can't watch everything. Kind of missing a lot. Like, I think that's cool. I don't know why the Apple, MLS, and WWE connection was never something I thought was going to be a thing. What? And yeah, now we're here. You know what I mean? So, but obviously, look at they put on a good show. Like, they wouldn't be around this long if they didn't. And I think they know what they're doing in terms of like broadcasting wise. Not that Apple doesn't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think it will be. It will be interesting to see kind of the growth because I think this is the next step of like Apple got the rights to produce this thing. They brought it in house. I don't think it was a failure, but it wasn't. I didn't connect. Did you connect with anybody like on the panel? Did you love it? I didn't hate it.
Yeah,
I don't say I loved it.
No, not really. I didn't hate it, but like you said, didn't love it either. And they did have like it was their first year to the 1 year was their first year. Like we remember when we were like, what are they? Why are they showing the back of their heads? Like,
that was that was poor.
That was crazy.
That was poor.
But like Connor just pointed out, like today it was confirmed that the Apple announcers will not be live. Like they'll be remote. They won't be in person. So what is that going to look like? Like,
It's they have to have. I feel like again, I'm glad you brought that up because when they first dropped it, and I was just staring at the back of four people's heads and a big TV, I was like, okay, what are we? We're I watch the Apple, when they do their WWDC thing, like that is a very pristine, thought through kind of thing that they do over there. And to watch everybody's back of the heads, I was like, what is happening here? So like, it is going to be interesting, like how they kind of. But I do think they heard kind of maybe the criticism of like how they kind of presented the whole thing. Got to get away from commercials mid game. I don't care if it's on the same screen. Got to get it. Don't think we will.
I don't
Got to
think
get away.
yeah, with the what is that? It's like their wraparound. What is that called?
The MLS the full show.
Yeah, where like they.
Yeah, it's the problem. I know exactly what you're talking about. We can't remember because it's not none of these items. I didn't hate anything. Yeah, they're not memorable, man. So like I do think the production. I think this move is solely production wise to make it more engaging and more enjoyable to watch and things like that. But just this MLS like run through of like 15 games at once was just not it. So I do think it's cool to like. They're prioritizing a couple games on the weekends on a Sunday night. They're going to break up these time slots, and we're not going to have, like I said, 8 games starting at 4 and then 2 starting at 4:30, 5 o'clock or whatever. I think that's going to be super interesting to see. And then like, I don't know. I didn't personally listen to MLS Extra Time, the podcast that they had. They canceled it. It's like 15 years running, I think.
Yeah.
I listened to the final episode. I would check in every now and again. I usually like to tune in to like fan specific shows. I think those are just a bit more in depth on the team, but I think it's interesting of kind of them canceling things that weren't working, and I'm hoping this is a good step forward in terms of the production because I didn't have any problem with the way the games looked or anything like that.
I thought the games looked pretty crisp, but hopefully
so good.
Soccer Sunday is free for Apple TV subscribers. Connor's saying, and then also the Sunday Soccer Sunday is supposed to be like a little bit different than what the regular games are. So, that's exciting. Hopefully, with them being at, the WWE headquarters and stuff, that brings a better spectacle from the viewer point too. And then they've also put out MLS season pass to other, things like I think Xfinity, you can get it through now.
T-Mobile,
T-Mobile was last year too, I believe. People came into chat and talked about that at one time. So like they're redoing that. So like that is good for them too. Like they need to do that so they can make their revenue.
Again, WWE knows how to put on. When I was a kid, massive. Not so much anymore as an adult, but like they know how to put a show on. You know what I mean? So like I think having them in this, I think that's what this is all about. Of like how to build a more interactive like program, and I think, brother, I am excited for this, and I do think it's gonna maybe not year one. But year 2, we should start seeing a pretty crisp, full-on production here and engaging production. But again, gotta get out of commercials.
Can't happen. And it's MLS 360.
There you go.
Thank you, Angus and Connor, for that. But yeah, like the only thing I'm worried about is I don't want it to look like WWE, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like obviously it's not because it's wrestling. And soccer.
I don't need the theatrics.
Yeah. Like we don't
want to talk about the game.
Yeah, let's talk about the game. Let's not be over dramatic. And we already know Taylor Twellman is very dramatic, and that's fine. There is some takes of his that I like, some that I don't. I don't hate him. I don't love him.
Yeah.
But it is nice to have that enthusiasm, though. Like I like that enthusiasm. And
dude loves the USA. I'll tell you that. Dude loves USA soccer.
He does. But like
he's gonna put himself into a heart attack. He keeps cheering on the team like he is, man. Best of luck to him.
Yeah, for sure.
It's tough, brother. Tough out here. But yeah, it's cool, man. Like I said, I agree with you. I don't want a WWE product, but I think this is solely production based of how to build a better, and that'll be cool. I'm excited to see. I don't think they did a bad job with Apple. I think the way the execution, some of it was a bit weird, but like. I'm excited to see kind of where this goes. It's going to be this is going to be a good season, brother. This is going to be a good season.
I'm excited for it. I am. I'm excited for the season, as always. Also, Mint City Matthew, thank you for stopping in. I think this is the first time I've seen you in here. He said,
"Oh, dude."
He said, "Hope MLS do more talk shows on a regular week basis." and it would be cool if they did shows on the road like College Game Day. I
Agreed.
mean, yeah, that would be cool if they did something like College Game Day. I don't know if they will though, because of the way that they're going to have the Apple announcers be remote and
Right
not,
now.
at location. But yes, I agree, Matthew. That would be great, and like a more a weekly talk show or regular basis. Because you do see, I think it's on Paramount Plus. They have the Golazo
Yeah.
show or something like
Colosso show.
that,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like every day, and like it would be cool to have something like that for the MLS for us to tune into when
100%.
the games aren't on during the weekend. Um, I like that they're spread out. I'm glad that they've taken a different approach. They listen to the fans. Hopefully, they are listening to the fans with some stuff, with spreading the games out a little bit. Because the first day is going to be wonderful. We're going to have stream on the 2:30 game. That first game, we're going to do the 4:30 game, and then I'm doing Atlanta at 7:30. We're doing a stream
We're
for all
doing a
three.
full. Oh yeah,
We're
I'll
doing
be
three
there, dude.
streams that day.
I'll
So
be there.
I'm excited.
What's
I'm
what's
excited.
opening day look like? You pull it up.
Yeah. Let's pull it up. I know that the first game, of course, is Inter Miami. They
Yeah.
they are the ones to start the them and NYCFC start the opening weekend off, and then that 4:30 match is LAFC versus Minnesota United, and then you have what, 5 games at 7:30, 5 games
I'm
at
about that.
8:30.
See, that's perfect. That's
Yeah,
perfectly fine.
absolutely.
No more than that.
Yeah, because I mean, even that I think will make MLS 360 better too. Only having to cover 5 games at a time, I think
Yep.
that that's a good number. I think that once you get more and more at one time, it's a little bit hard. And then we're also, what my favorite thing about it, I will say that they changed, and I know that maybe West Coast people don't care about it, but maybe they do. I'm not sure. So if anybody is on the West Coast, please tell me what your thoughts are. But I love that the Sunday games are earlier in the day,
Yeah.
because that's one thing on the channel. We cover MLS as a whole here on the Nerdy Soccer Guy channel, but I would say 85% of the watch alongs that we do are East Coast teams because of the time difference. Like I can't stay up. I can't
We
start a
did.
stream at 10
I
10 p.m. on a Sunday.
I remember the one. I remember the one we did. I want to say it was like Houston and somebody. It doesn't matter who the teams were, but we started that thing at like 10:10 at night. 0-0 draw. That was a rough one, brother.
Yeah, like yeah, it sucks.
Yep.
But yeah, so I'm excited for those Sunday matches. So like
Yep.
if something happens on Saturday, or if again for the chat and the subscribers, like I will put out each week for what games you all want to watch or what you're thinking about what we should watch. But that this first weekend, I plan on doing the Miami NYCFC game right off the top, LAFC in Minnesota, and then sorry, it's my pick. I To be honest, I would love this first weekend to be in Atlanta on the 22nd. But we're doing the Atlanta versus Montreal game, and so that's what the first weekend's going to look like for our
Rep that
watch-alongs.
team, brother. Rep that
Yeah,
team.
absolutely.
It's cool, man. It's gonna be I mean, we got a packed opening weekend. I know you wanted to talk this show mainly about like the changes in the upcoming season and not so much team based, but I know you're buzzing right now of your boy.
Oh yeah.
Your boy Miggy coming
Yeah.
back home from New. I'll tell you a funny story. My dad, right, is a massive Newcastle United fan. Okay, massive Newcastle United fan. And my dad texted me and he goes, "Miggy's about to leave." And I said, "I don't think so." This is a couple weeks ago. I said, "I don't think so, man. You guys need to buy a replacement if you're going to do that." He goes, "No, he's gone. He's going to go back to the MLS." My dad didn't know Miguel Almiron played at Atlanta United until they started showing this whole thing of him going back home. And then he called me and he goes, "Why are we doing that? Why are we not buying a replacement for him?" So he's furious that Newcastle let him go without a replacement. And now he's going back home. I know you are buzzing.
I was some of these guys that are in the Discord. I was sharing a lot there. I retweeted a whole bunch on Twitter today. Yeah, I am buzzing. I'm excited for it. As for him, like personally, probably not the best move. He probably shouldn't come back to a lower
Yeah.
league compared to. I mean, I think he was doing decent and pretty well there for Newcastle in these last couple seasons.
Well, I think it was it pre World Cup or post World Cup? He was like scoring every single week. He was like
Yeah,
third or second or third. I mean, he hasn't done that since. It's been like stop start. But there was a moment there he was on fire, man.
yeah, yeah. And so like for that, like maybe he just wants to relax now, play in a less. I hate to say that
Yeah.
it's a lesser league than the Premier League, but also the Premier League is very physical. That
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like the Premier League is is the most physical league in the world,
Oh yeah.
from what I've seen. And so him coming back to Atlanta, I'm super pumped. Me personally, I'm pumped for it. I think that he has a lot to offer still. Even he's what 30, 31, something like that.
Not old.
And I think that he still has a lot to offer. And
Yeah.
him, Moranchuk, Silva, Saba, like it's gonna. I think that it's gonna be a good season for Atlanta. Hopefully, I don't know how I feel about this rumored signing Latte Loft with this record deal of paying $22 million, and I guess it's pretty. From what I heard last, it's pretty much a done deal. Aside from the physical,
Yeah.
so there's going to be that very high expectation because of that dollar amount for him. And yes, he is scoring for Middlesbrough. I think that's who
Yeah.
he's playing for. And so I'm excited for that. I'm excited. Like, we need a striker. Like, yeah, Jamal and Rios, they did a pretty good job after Yakimakis left. But I'm super pumped for this season. I expect nothing but, I think that we should be in the top 5 in the East. And 5 is the least for me, but
Yeah.
the East teams have made a lot of moves. I feel like the East teams have made a lot of moves this offseason. And also teams like Columbus are already going to stay good because Cucho is staying, as far as I remember. And
Yep.
I know that there's been a couple rumors around him. And Connor, you can correct me if I'm wrong with any of that. And it's just I expect this to be good, but I think the East is going to be the better conference again this year from the moves that they've made compared to the moves of the Western
West.
Conference. But I am excited to see what San Jose does.
It's gonna be you got. I know you got Martinez going over to San Jose, right? Didn't you sign there?
Yep.
Yeah, your boy. But Emmanuel Latte, 11 goals, 3 assists.
Yeah.
For Middlesbrough. I mean, that will do.
Yeah,
that'll do in the MLS for sure. Like, let's bring that over here. And I know you'll do. I know you'll have a show closer to like when the season starts, and we'll kind of. I'd love to jump on and we'll go through our predictions and everything like that. But I mean, I got one. San Diego, dude.
Yeah.
What do we think about this team? Do we think they're going to be good? Are they going to do a St. Louis a couple years ago? And why, Dion? Why have they dropped the ugliest kits I've ever seen? And you couldn't miss here. Like, you couldn't miss with this is the inaugural kit, and this is your first. It's a black T-shirt with a red and blue ribbon on the side. It's horror
with DirecTV plastered on the front of it.
Terrible.
I was pumped for it because I was going to get it because I want to get a jersey, a jersey. Like, I have, who else is it? I have Atlanta's inaugural season. It's actually well, you can't see it in this video, but it's hanging up above the closet there. There's a couple other ones that I have too, and I wanted to get it, and it's like, dude, this thing sucks. So I'm hoping that they do better on their other, I don't know if that was their home or it's going to be their way coming out. Hopefully it's better. And like maybe next Thursday I'll talk about that as the leaks for the jerseys that have come out so far for this season. They're shite.
They are bad.
The coolest one I saw was today. Columbus is doing a play on Goosebumps, right?
Yeah.
Goosebumps.
Yeah.
I think that looks sick. I'm excited for that jersey. But some of the other ones that I've seen, not good. Not good.
I'm excited for your breakdown of each. I'll dive in the comment section on that live show, dude, because I've definitely got some thoughts. I will say that I feel like we've had some very good kit seasons the past couple years. Some very good bangers.
Yeah.
So we were due for a bad one, and we might be sitting in that bad one.
It might be this one.
We might be sitting in the bad.
But to answer your question, I don't think that San Diego will have a season like St. Louis. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they have the roster. I
Yeah.
think they flopped on the draft, like the expansion draft. They flopped on it. There was a lot of good players that they could have picked up from that and did not. Uh, I I think that we'll see, but they have
Yeah.
like Alex Mighton. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, he came from Forest. He was supposed to be very good a while
And
ago. Not sure.
he's kind of flopped. We'll see what he does. Um, I just
I'm interested
Luka,
for your breakdown of all the teams, man. I'm excited for that. But another growth for the MLS. This isn't, they're not done, right? They got what, 2 more spots they want to fill, right?
who
How many
San
teams
Diego?
are there now?
There's 30. There's
Yeah,
30
they're
MLS teams.
gonna do 2 more teams, right?
You
They're
think
gonna
so?
get to 30. Are they?
I don't know. I think 30 is way too many.
I think I think we should have capped it at like 20. Yeah, I think 30 should be the max, but I got a feeling they're not done. I got a feeling they'll go at least 2 more. When are you dropping? When are you going to drop all of your prediction videos and everything? We got like a couple more
I
weeks.
know we only got a couple more weeks. Hopefully in the next couple weeks. Tomorrow I will be doing. So I know that some people are excited for CONCACAF. The Champions Cup, CONCACAF Champions Cup coming up. Tomorrow I'll be filming. I don't know when I'll release it, but what I'm doing with it is the first couple games. So like there's games on like the 4th, 5th, and 6th or something. I'm going to do a prediction video for those and spread them out like that instead of doing one, a whole thing, because it's weird. Some of the teams will finish up before, there's certain groups that will finish up before the other ones even play. So I'm going to break it up like that for that. But yeah, I will be releasing those kind of videos soon. I mean, because it's coming quick already.
Stoked, dude.
What, 22, 23?
22nd?
Days away? Yeah, 24 days away.
Yeah. I'm stoked, dude. I'm excited for all your breakdowns, dude. You'll have to have me on again right before, and I'll give everybody my outlandish predictions for some of these teams, dude. I'm stoked for it, man. It's gonna be a good season.
So Angus is saying that MLS has said that they're going to hold up a few more seasons before adding, which usually they kind of do. They wait because St. Louis, because of COVID, they were supposed to be in 2020. They came in 2021. Yeah. So like that's a pretty big, because they're the newest one, right? St. Louis and
St. Louis and now San Diego.
So like that's a pretty 4 years. Yeah. So we'll see, but
it'll be interesting.
Grace is saying MLS needs to keep expanding. It's their revenue source. Without ProRel, there's no reason to stop. That guarantees money.
They'll have to stop at some point.
I mean,
they got it.
Could you
imagine? They'll make their own leagues, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, at that point, like you would have to split it up, like because I think that 15 and 15, East and West. Really, you could almost just play like the East, play the East, West play the West in the season, and then like the playoffs, like it just ends up being the West champion against the East champion. Like, and if they continue to add teams, like that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to do that.
Exactly. Germany has 18 teams in their league. Do you know what I mean? Like we'll have almost that league in one conference. You know what I'm saying? Like we'll have to split it up. I think they'll cap at 32 at least.
We'll see.
34 is a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Dude. It's a lot.
Even going up to I'd like to see it. I mean, I would love to see Pittsburgh, get a team. Like that would be, because then I would be spending a lot of time in Pittsburgh. But then what I worry about is what happened to San Diego. Like we had the San Diego Loyal, and this group comes in to do San Diego FC.
They're trying to do it to Sacramento, potentially going to do it to Indy. Mm-hmm. Like those Indy fans out there were having a fit about it. So it's interesting. It's interesting how the MLS is like picking off the highest. It's a conversation for another day for sure, because we gotta go deep. But like, it's interesting how they're picking off the places where there's already a pre-built like fan base there, and they know they'll succeed. So it's interesting.
Go ahead.
I want the game to grow regardless. Yeah. I don't want to see teams die, but I want the game to grow. But it'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how San Diego does. A lot of talks of Kevin De Bruyne coming over.
I don't think it'll be this year. I don't think it'll be this season.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
But I mean,
it'll be interesting.
San Diego's
It'll be
nice.
interesting.
I've been to San Diego twice. If I could afford it, I would live in San Diego because
100%.
the weather is beautiful. There, like
100%.
bugs were at a very minimal compared to where I'm at.
Yep.
So if I could do it, I would live there.
Yeah.
Beaches are
Yep.
nice, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Um, before we jump off here, Charles, we kind of already went over Leagues Cup in the U.S. Open Cup. We didn't really go through the formats. Uh, the Leagues Cup one is kind of weird. They just play against like MLS teams play Liga MX teams, I believe, and that's about it. Like that's what they do in the first phase, and then there's a knockout stage of 8 teams. I mean, I guess it's a pretty good format. I mean, we'll see what it looks like. I don't know how I feel about it. And then
Yeah,
for
they're still like we said, they're still figuring it out. I mean, they're just trying. They're trying to get through it again. It'll be interesting what happens and what I think they'll land on something after all this is done. But again, we got to stop changing the goalposts every year because we keep doing that. People are forgetting how this is supposed to be set up, and it's not making any sense to anybody. And that's just not how you build engagement. But we'll see, brother. We'll see.
And then for the U.S. Open Cup, it's kind of the same format, I believe. Like there's a round 1, second round, third round, and then like in each one of those rounds, you know, the MLS teams are introduced, or your USL teams get introduced. So it's kind of the same format from what I'm reading. You know, kind of the same format. So I like that. It's nice to see, you know, the amateur leagues have to duke it out and, you know, move up. And I like that. I like the U.S. Open Cup format. And I just wish, like, I know that, you know, some of those teams play on American football fields and things like that. But I wish there was more, we could have more eyes on those games. Like, because I know that they do have them on their YouTube every so often. They'll play a live one. But it'd be nice if there was more.
I think they're diving into ESPN, but I think it was on ESPN Plus or Paramount last year. I don't know why, I can't remember right now. I think it's ESPN that they got. The Open Cup is now on ESPN, so hopefully they do that again. But no, I agree, man. Like that's the only way we're going to get this thing to grow. Is just, you know, you find those local teams that are not New York, Miami, LA. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people living not in those areas. Yeah, so exactly. It's cool though, man.
Exactly. But hey, we have went over. I was trying to keep this thing to an hour.
Long talks for you. That's on me, man.
No, dude,
I enjoy it.
I love it. I think this was an awesome show. Thank you all for watching. Michael, thank you for coming on, being the first guest on the channel.
Anytime.
You know, I think that this is a good talking format. I hope to have others on here. If others are listening, subscribers, if you want to come on the channel and have a conversation like we did tonight, let me know. More than happy to have you come on. I plan on doing this all season long. 7 p.m. on Thursday, we come down, we sit, we can do an overview, we can chat about whatever you guys want. Obviously, we'll talk about the weekend before, and then what we are coming to for the weekend. But I will not give my predictions because that will be in a prediction video that comes out either before the stream or probably on Fridays is when it'll come out. So, I'm excited for the season. I'm excited for bringing more content, and I want to hear from you guys too. Like I said, I want to have subs on, and I like hearing how people get started. Like we both got started pretty much at the same time. 2010 World Cup is where my love for the game started. My buddy Josh Dudley, he probably doesn't
shout out.
It's a shout out, but I don't think I haven't talked to him in years, and I don't even know if he watches soccer anymore. He's a big hockey guy, guy. But it was all thanks to him. We spent that whole summer. I spent like the whole summer at his house, and we watched as many games as we could. So, but again, thank you, Michael. Hey, tell them where they can find you on your social media there before we head out.
Over at Carefree Willis, come hang. I'm usually tweeting all my hatred for how Chelsea are going right now and my love for the kickers. So come hang, Dion. You're a good dude, man. I love talking to you, man. I'm stoked that we've built a solid friendship here. And anytime you need somebody to talk to, you tell me. I'll come on a Thursday, bro.